All right. So basically, today, what we're doing is we are checking out mushrooms. So this is going to be about getting into mushrooms today, everybody. And we're here with Dr. Miller, and we're going to just jump right into this, and we're going to be talking about mushrooms. So, Dr. Miller, do you like mushrooms? Let me just start there.
Shrooms is in the early years, and then they became gourmet, and now they're pharmaceutical. That's how it all started. Mushrooms originally were sacred. Ah, there it is, Amanita muscaria, and then it went from there. I knew Gerald Clark and some of the others that used to write on the sacred mushroom, and all of this has led to a new host of concepts in agriculture. And mycelium is what we're going to discuss today. When you talk about mushrooms, really, there are three different aspects of the mushroom. There's the fruiting cap, which you normally associate with that's the mushroom. That's actually the fruiting cap. That's the part that comes up to make itself continue itself. It's its reproduction. The mycelium is the body or meat of the mushroom, and that's in the soil as a bunch of fine fiber. Then the third aspect is the soil or medium in which it was grown. If you're growing mushrooms, often the broth, that's what it's called, the broth, it has chemistry that is not in the mushroom, fruiting cap, or the mycelium. And all three of these are extremely important chemistries when dealing with psychedelic, pharmaceutical, or gourmet. Gourmet meaning for foods as a food group, adding flavor and texture to your eating habits. Now, the mycelium is really the mushroom. Mycelium is the body of the mushroom. In fact, just for FYI, the two largest life forms on Earth that have been recorded so far from space are two agaricus mushrooms, one growing in the Blue Mountains of Oregon and Washington, and the second one is up in Vancouver, BC. It is a single living organism that is an
Wow.
agaricus type mushroom. Yeah, the third largest life form is an aspen, folk, down in Colorado. But the first two are mushrooms. Just FYI, that's the largest life form on Earth, as we
Wow.
understand at this point. Okay? That's
Okay.
a definition of what a mushroom is and what. Now, there is very certain mushrooms are not easily cultivated. Uh, the most common or most expensive mushroom in the world is the matsutake mushroom or the pine mushroom that grows at a certain altitude all over the world. And that is the
Okay.
one that has a $1.4 billion single market. That single mushroom,
Wow.
matsutake. Yeah, that's sold mostly in Japan.
And is that
The
because it's a
United States has
pharmaceutical?
no, it's a gourmet mushroom. It's put in soup, like
Oh, is that the
uh,
is that the miso soup mushroom or?
yeah, meat, yeah, plum. It has a mushroom
Ah.
floating in it. That mushroom slice
Okay.
is usually always matsutake. It is served everywhere. It is
Wow.
served everywhere, Europe, everywhere, and Japan is the largest market. And for that sale is $1.4 billion, and that yeah, the United States has a 3% market share. That means 3% of that mushroom comes from the United States, and is the single largest wildcrafted mushroom in the United States. There, actually,
Interesting.
you cannot. That is one of the few mushrooms that, at this juncture, has not been able to be established. That means you can't go in and grow it. What you
Hmm.
can do is locate it and farm it. And the University of British Columbia has done a study on that where they have now determined that you can increase the yields from a known matsutake stand by maybe 12 times. That means if this is producing matsutake with fertilizers and irrigation and other considerations throughout a 12-month series, you can enhance it up to, actually it's 11 times the yield. Now, usually that is done by elk, and we have always associated elk traffic to disturbing the surface of the soil that would cause the mycelium to flush into fruiting cap. But
Okay.
we don't know that yet. We just simply know how that we can expand its yields, but we can't establish it. I have developed a technology
Wow.
that I can identify Matsutake stands off season using Landsat NOAA infrared. I can establish where the mushroom is growing, and then we can go down there and physically enhance it with farming techniques. And that will be
Okay.
in a chapter in a new book I have called Forest Farming. And what you would do is start up in Arctic Alaska, and at the end of the season, end up down in tropical Peru. And the season goes, and that's why original in Wildcrafting, the Native Plants book was originally titled The Nomadic Life of the Professional Forager. Someone that
Huh.
wildcrafts usually is following a season on a crop, through the
Right.
hemisphere. And
Right.
Matsi would be the biggest single crop that was wildcrafted that has not yet. We can farm ginseng now. We can put it in and make it happen. We can do golden seal. We can do a lot of mushrooms, not matsutake, which is the one everybody wants. And I'm guessing that that's because nobody can do it, and so it's considered prized, because it has to be wildcrafted. You can farm it, you can't establish it. That's matsutake. How to grow mushrooms indoors. Here's some guides I gave to you that are simple basics. What are the easiest to grow? There are three basic. I'm going to open up that website right now so I
Okay,
can
and
talk a little.
I'll make sure to drop those links in the description. And
Yeah,
also, when you guys watch the edited version on the North American Sustainable Farms channel, we'll actually have it cut a little bit, and we'll have the clips running, so you'll see some video images while we're talking as well.
yeah. I wonder why I can't open it. It doesn't seem to open.
And actually, while you're getting that,
Oh,
I gotta excuse myself real quick. I gotta turn off the AC unit. I forgot about that, so I'm gonna step right back.
okay.
I'm back.
Growing mushrooms, there are three types of mushrooms that are the easiest to grow. There is the oyster mushroom that's similar to the lobster that we have here in Oregon, the white button, which you would call agaricus, and the shiitake or oak mushroom. The oak
All
mushroom
right.
is usually, what you'll do is get an old oak log, drill a hole in it, and we'll give you a plug that you put in. And what happens next is that it consumes the log. All
Mm.
mushrooms need fiber to grow. That's usually wood chips or sawdust or a brew of some kind with grain in it, where they're working with the fiber. And that's why all your larger mushroom growing operations are near logging, where there's a lot of sawdust. Um,
Okay.
they require caves, usually along the Mississippi or the St. Louis rivers, up near Minneapolis and St. Paul, along the Missouri, these along the river are caves, and those are all filled today with mushroom growers using sawmills and other kinds of places where they bring the fiber in and grow the mushroom underground. Um, Most mushrooms will grow easily in a canopy, not direct sunlight. They like to have a little bit of shade. So you usually grow them on a dead log on the forest floor, and you drill a hole in it, and the mushroom grows off that log. That's the shiitake. The pine
Right.
mushroom, that's mushroom. The white button was known as agaricus. That
Mm-hmm.
one is the most common one in the supermarket. You call it the button mushroom, but it's white, and that's like a portobello. It's a little darker. The white mushroom is agaricus, and there are many different species of agaricus. The primary one in the pharmaceutical comes from Brazil and might be maybe 16 inches across in the mushroom head, whereas the ones in the store will be 1 to 2 inches.
And aren't the ones you're talking about in Brazil, aren't those the almond mushrooms? Or are those?
Well, I don't know what other common you might use for it in Brazil, but it's Agaricus blazei. It's a genus species. Agaricus, and then blazei would be the species, and that's the big one. And the reason they do that is we get more of it, and it also has more chemistry. We're going to talk about that in another section, but in terms of growing mushrooms, there are 3 classes of mushrooms in degree of difficulty, of which the matsutake is at the end one of impossible to grow. You can farm it, can't establish it. Like I'm going to put some matsutake right here and then make it happen. You can't do that. You have to find a place that has already got it growing, and then you can enhance it. Or you can say, I'm going to grow this anywhere I want to, including my closet, which I did with psychedelic mushrooms with psilocybin. Psilocybin is really easy to grow. And the way we did it in the 70s, yes, I was growing mushrooms in the 70s, was you take a log, usually a 6-inch log, and you start the cultivation on the top of the log, and the fruiting cap comes up. And once the fruiting cap has been harvested, you tilt it 90 degrees, and then you have another one. And usually by the 4th rotation, you can the log, and the log goes out, and you start a new log. And you need darkness, you need a temperature control for cold and warm, because that's what sets the trigger, is the temperature, not the amount of light hitting the log. And seasons determine the temperature. And so you need, like, all your fruiting caps are usually 42 degrees Fahrenheit.
Interesting.
Now, if you're doing that in the dead of summer, how are you going to do that? In a refrigerator.
Right.
Okay, you close the refrigerator, you have a little fan in there, so it's circulating air in and out, but you have the temperature, so you have a circulation of air. You just use an old refrigerator in your attic. That's how I grew it. It's simple. And when it hit 42 degrees, up come the fruiting gap, and you change the temperature, and it goes back into growing mycelium rather than trying to pollinate itself. It's self-pollinating.
So are you saying that, so basically, just reiterating, you're saying that it requires a snap of cold in order to start fruiting?
Yes, that's exactly correct. That's why you have most of your things come out in the fall. It's a sharp change in temperature.
Oh, wow.
And it's that sharp change. Like you get a little hit of water, rain, and then it goes cold. And up come the caps.
Okay.
And that's psilocybin. You'll find, and on my property here in Oregon, I have 6 different psychedelic mushrooms, possibly as much as 1,000 pounds growing on the entire piece of 1 acre. And if you go up to Tillamook in the cow patties and stuff like that, my goodness. And if you go into Seattle and to Merrimore Park, I can see all the Seattle people now. We did a thing way back in when I wrote my book on psychedelic mushrooms called Magical Mushroom Handbook. There were 2 versions of that, and the second one went to High Times, and it's still a very popular with pictures and how to do identification. We discovered, we created a new hybrid called Psilocybe, Psilocybe stuntzii, and that was based on Dr. Stuntz, who taught that at the University of Washington when a bunch of us, including Fungus perfecti, some of the other guys, were all in the same class together. And what we did is we inoculated Wallingford's compost pile. And then the next 6 years showed that compost pile being deployed everywhere in Wallingford. And every morning in the fall, you saw maybe a couple hundred kids out before dawn taking psychedelic mushrooms in the lawn. I hope they're well.
Those were the days.
Well, that's a long time. Barrymore Park has liberty caps that would grow. A liberty cap can grow maybe 18 inches high in the tall grass. It has a very long stem that weaves up and up, and then the cap. And the cap might be an inch and a half. And yeah, when you touched it, it would turn blue. You know, there were ways you could identify it real quickly. The ones up in Bellingham, the psilocybe biocystis, had some extra chemistry in it that made them concerned with respiratory, called biocystin and norbobiocystin. And norbobiocystin and biocystin were toxins with the lung, made you think you were having a heart attack when you were taking the mushroom because it was hard to breathe. You're not, and they're saying, but yeah. That's some people that have taken certain mushrooms feel like they're going to die, and they're not. It's just that. Now, Amanita muscaria with Pantherina, the panther caps, or the death cap, those are different, and they have two chemistries in them that make them creepy. The first is muscimol, muscarine. And muscimol moves your body in that direction, and muscarine moves your body in that direction. And that's why the Koryak and all these other people throughout history never ate the mushroom directly. What they did is they let it go through somebody else's filtering system, and then they drank the urine.
Huh. Interesting.
Filtering out the toxins. Muscimol and muscarine are used as surgery tools to take you down into or up out of certain anesthesia states, states of anesthesia. And they're used in deep surgery. They're quite dangerous and have to be very carefully monitored. And that's why the so-called sacred mushroom, the red amanita, always they used to associate the little tufts on that as equivalent to, what is that, strychnine. It's not strychnine, but it acts like strychnine in your stomach, where your stomach seizes up and tightens to such a point that you usually will strangle to death, which is a terrible way to die. That's what strychnine does. It's not a toxin. Okay. It causes the synaptic jump potential between neurons in the brain to go flatline, and then your brain starts firing, and you just tighten up and strangle to death. It's a terrible way to die.
Wow.
And most people, you didn't know that, huh?
No, I didn't know that. That's pretty intense. And so, it's all right. And one thing I was going to tell you as well, and this is something for the viewers as well as the listeners, is we are setting up the North American Sustainable Farm interview stuff as on a podcast style audio form, so that way you can get that on iTunes, on Stitcher, because there is a push towards audio content right now, and that's something we're going to talk more about after the interview. But that will be something people can get from us, is a audio version of this interview, and that's going to be coming out in this next week. Is we'll be transitioning the interviews we've done to audio, and then we'll also be working together to work towards getting classes and stuff going on these topics and some of the information we've shared. So, all right. So, well, you've mentioned some of the easiest mushrooms to grow and get into.
They're real simple to grow. Yeah, they're very, very simple to grow. You can even go out and start your own. If you found shiitake in the woods, all you have to do is just grab a little mycelium and throw it on a log, and it will reestablish itself, just like that.
Wow. Well, and does that have to do with, because I know in the commercial side of it, they're very much like, sterilization.
Well, the reason for sterilization is to protect their cultivar. Like when you're growing cordyceps and you come up with a special hybrid GMO, one that's 5.4 times the polysaccharides, you don't want somebody to clone that. That's how you do it. You clone your mushroom. And if you sterilize it, you can't clone it. That's why they sterilize it. It isn't that it's toxic or
Oh, well,
anything. Ah,
I wasn't so much saying about sterilizing the mushroom itself. I'm talking about like in when I got into growing
when they sell
mushrooms.
you something, they sell it to you sterilized because they don't want you to
Oh,
know.
interesting. Well, I didn't even know that. I was more or less
Yeah,
talking about
that's
sterilization as in like when you go to grow mushrooms, there's two different practices of growing mushrooms.
well, you
There's the
have other
natural
kinds of
approach and then
bacteria.
there's
Yeah, okay. The sterilization you're talking about is that it doesn't have any competition and is more easily established, before you then allow it to get all kinds of creepy other things in with it that will compete.
right.
But that's why in sterilization you don't want other things to be growing in it besides your mushroom. That's that part of sterilization. But once it's harvested, they sterilize that so that you can't clone it.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
That's why they sterilize it
So
because you
besides
spent
going
2 years getting a special cultivar. Remember how you see in the movies where they have
wow.
200 petri dishes and all of a
Mhm.
sudden because that one petri dish over here is different than all the rest of them?
Mhm.
That's okay. That's a cultivar. That's a special change in the mushroom that you're looking
Huh.
for, and you grab it. Grab it.
Wow.
And that's
Yeah,
how I'm going to base our whole industry on is this mushroom. And then
wow.
that would be a CS4. That Cordyceps sinensis variation 4. Took them 4 years to get
Wow.
that
Cuz
variation. Yeah.
that's interesting. And going back though about the sterilization practice for common commercial like raising mushrooms and stuff. What so I was told that the difference between like you were saying, it's really easy to just take spores or mycelium from out in nature and just throw it on the log.
Yeah.
I was told that it's about strength and genetics and immune system. So what? So what's the difference between a commercially grown, like you're saying, 4 years to produce a certain mushroom? What's the difference
Well,
between the
no,
immune
4 years
system of
to
those
find
mushrooms?
it in your laboratory. In other words, you
Right,
have, okay, you got this mushroom from the woods. Now what you want to do is hybridize it.
right. But that's what
So,
I'm saying is, so what's the difference between the hybridization's immune system and genetics, like the strength of its genetics and immune system, compared to the
okay, well,
wild
in
crafted
nature,
genetics?
yeah, in nature, the cordyceps is a very small little thing that you pick off with tweezers off a dead insect.
Oh
It's
wow. Okay.
okay, cordyceps is so small you need a pair of glasses to look for it, and you pluck it off a dead piece of insect, and it might be this little thing pulling off. And that's your cordyceps mushroom. Now, how many of those do you need to feed the king of China, or the emperor of China? Well, probably 200 people out there with a pair of tweezers was enough to feed one single emperor. And that was why he lived longer than everybody else, etc.
Wow.
Oh, okay, as a
Wow.
metaphor. Okay, so then when you grow it in medium, you can have a million times, and you're still going to need a lot of mushroom to feed that single individual,
Right.
unless you hybridize it. So
Mm.
the specific chemistry, cordyceptin, is 5.4 times that found in nature.
Okay.
Now you have a superfood that's patented, sterilized, of course, because it took them how many years to get that one single variation to grow out of the thousands of petri dishes? You like tying flies, you don't know what's going to bite, and all of a sudden you got one. You pull it
Yeah.
out, and that's the one you're going to clone. And
Mm-hmm.
that's called tissue culture and germplasm.
Hmm.
Okay? Okay,
Okay.
that's what I was doing with marijuana, and what is that called? Train wreck number 7.
So are you saying that so even if their immune system of cultivated mushrooms is lower, the
It's not
genetics can
about
be
your immune
stronger?
system. Yeah, it's not about your immune
Well,
system.
I'm more or less so
It,
when you get into mushrooms, one of the biggest things is like people harp on how hard it is to grow them, but there's also an easier way to grow them when you like you said the wild crafted way where you just throw them the
well, no,
wild
no,
ones on a
that's not
log.
easy. That's the hard way. The easy way is when I have a gallon jug
Okay.
full of rice medium, and I stack those 6 high, 6 across and 6 deep on rollers, and I have 20 rollers that go into a big walk-in cooler.
But what's your sterilization process? Because that seems to be a really
Well,
hard
you
thing for people.
sterilize the medium before you inoculate it.
Right,
So that
but do
when
you do a heat?
it's inoculated with only one thing, not bacteria and other kinds of creepy, but
Right.
molds and yeasts like
So
candida.
you're talking about a heat sterilization process, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what I'm saying. Like I recently learned.
Now,
Yeah, and I recently.
sterilization of the mushroom after it's harvested is usually done with nukes.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
So it's
Wow.
dead. Yeah, sterilization. So what you've got is the polysaccharide. I guess we need to talk about chemistry real quick on what makes a pharmaceutical mushroom so good with cancer. So, so the two primary in pharmaceutical mushrooms are beta. Okay, you got sugars, and then you have beta glucans. These are sugar molecules that are quite dimensional, and they look like very large or viruses or very small bacteria invading the body. That's called a beta glucan. Then you have sugars, beta glucans, and then you have polysaccharides that are long sugar molecules that have maybe 100 oxygen molecules in it. And as the mushroom breaks down, oxygen is released on a cellular level into the body. And cancer is basically your body making a mistake. What you don't want it to do is mastatize and continue making that mistake, because making a mistake is normal. Continue making a mistake is your immune system failing to stop that. And it's now been discovered that cancer cannot exist in an oxygen-rich environment. And so pharmaceutical mushrooms, by definition, eliminate cancer as a byproduct of something else they're doing even more important than that. Now, beta glucan.
That's awesome.
Huh?
I said that's awesome. That just made me laugh, and that's okay. Mushrooms to me are like mushrooms are the closest thing to gods on this planet to me.
No, they're not. That's what the Koryak used to think when they talked to God on mushrooms. So there it is.
I'm being facetious because
I know. Yeah. Okay. So beta glucans. If you take 6 different pharmaceutical mushrooms, because they have maybe 50 to 120 different beta glucans, all different structures, and you put them all together in a cluster, 6 mushrooms, 6 different, so you got a big stew. You add transfer factor, cholesterol. Now that puts the gene up on top of the cell looking for similar invading lookalikes. That's how it sharpens your NK killer cells or sharpens your immune system. That's what beta glucans do.
Okay.
As a sugar. And they look like, oh, here comes invading bacteria number 74. Go get them. And it's not. But what it does is it increases the development of NK killer cells. They're out there looking, red alert, boom, 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 boom. And you don't get sick from invading bacteria and viruses.
Okay.
Okay. So that's what pharmaceutical mushrooms do. Beta glucans, polysaccharides. Polysaccharides, cancer, and or what happens when you flush your body with a bunch of oxygen? Well, let's see. A weightlifter then can lift his personal best. So he'll eat a bunch of pharmaceutical mushrooms, and it breaks his record.
Wow.
Racehorses, especially these Saudis that were racing horses, will put it in their horses' food to have them perform better. It's legal. That's how China won all those gold medals a few years back by eating cordyceps, and it was legal because it was not a drug.
Wow.
They flush their body with oxygen and, personal best, etc. That's pharmaceutical mushrooms.
Okay.
So weightlifters will use it to try to break their personal best. Performance horse racing and or dog racing will use it
Okay.
to enhance the dog's ability and or horse's ability in drag racing, jet boating on the Rogue River. Now, it's also to get rid of cancers. And so people, and what happened, okay, so I had this hot flash of putting cordyceps into growth ponds up in Nanaimo and Skagway for salmon as an antibiotic substitute. And what happened next is, one of the studies, all the salmon had 1/3 more protein yield in the same food lot. They, in other words, it enhanced them by 1/3 more. And in one study, there was absolutely no kill. And there's always kill. So many dead fish are floating for the million salmon that are not. And I have been up to Skagway where the fish were so thick in the streams, you could run across the tops of those fish across from one side to the other without getting underwater. That's how thick the salmon were. It's unbelievable. It's like a solid salmon going down the Skagway or whatever. So when you use pharmaceutical mushrooms, they can, in right form, act as an antibiotic substitute without putting antibiotic in your food chain. And that's a breakthrough in the use of pharmaceutical mushrooms for alternative feedlot options. Like we talked last week about the feedlots using comfrey as an amino acid. Now we're getting down to the importance of oxygen on one tier down from amino acids in terms of regulation of the way things function in your body. And these are food groups. Okay. So that's what distinguishes a pharmaceutical from a gourmet, that it just tastes good, like a morel or a chanterelle, which has polysaccharides and beta-glucans in them, but nothing, not compared to the pharmaceutical, which, there are as many as 72 different pharmaceutical mushrooms been identified that are high in both polysaccharides and beta-glucans. And when you hybridize them, it takes years to get the right cultivar. Once you have that cultivar, you can have something that is not found in nature, but is a superfood. When I say a superfood, I'm not talking about, a supplement. I'm talking about a super supplement, something you can't get with a blending of 6 or 7 things. Now, this is the distinction between German pharmaceutical and American pharmaceutical. The German pharmaceutical would target cordycepin as the polysaccharide that they're interested in and extract it out of 1 million mushrooms. What I would like to do is not have to extract a target chemistry, but get a wide range of polysaccharides in the mushroom itself so high I don't need to use it 10-to-1. I can eat it as a raw food, cultivar, and get 5.4 times the performance of what would be found in nature. That's what GMO is in the good side of things. On the bad side of things is GMOs. GMOs are double-edged swords.
I understand.
What we call a cultivar, or something that has climatized to a given region based on sunlight, cold, wet, and all the habitat that it gives. And so it's important to understand what a GMO is and what it is not, and the fact that certain GMOs need to be studied further before they're allowed into the food chain. And that's where the big issues with Monsanto, because while Roundup, glyphosate, breaks down into inorganic chemistries within 10 days, if you put it into the gene of the plant itself, it never breaks down, which means it's always there, not gone, in which case now you have a problem, Houston.
So is glyphosate
using those kinds of plants? I'm sorry. I was going to say, once you start using that kind of gene splicing, What'll happen is that particular soil has Roundup in it and forever, which means you can't grow certain kinds of things like annuals. That's why corn,
Okay.
for example, is outlawed in the state of Oregon. You can grow it only once in 4 years. Now, right other 3 years, you have to let that soil rest and recover itself.
So are
And
you
that's
saying?
why the Midwest now powder.
Right, right, and I'm familiar with
What's
that.
up?
But are you saying that the glyphosate storage in soil,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
the glyphosate? I just learned about glyphosate. There's this movie that just came out that's like making it a big deal, and so basically, what you're saying though is that glyphosate as a chemical itself breaks down in 10 days on soil when it's sprayed. But you're saying that when it gets into the plant's genetics,
like you used to use it,
yeah. But I'm saying
that changes things.
you're saying that when it gets into the plant's genetics,
there, doesn't break down.
right, right. But when you're saying it's always there,
Yeah.
are you saying that when that plant matter decomposes into the soil, it then is always there in the soil? And
Plant keeps that genetics on that thing as part of the soil, which means you can't grow annuals in it anymore because that's what glyphosate does. It's the translocator. It stops
okay,
the plant from generating. It stops photosynthesis, is what it does. It goes right down into the root of the plant and stops that plant from being able to do photosynthesis. Now, if the plant itself is got that as a gene in it, then that keeps that plant gene there forever. That's
right,
what's wrong. Okay, but if you use glyphosate as a single application to take out the grass before you allow comfrey to go in, glyphosate's gone. Will never affect the soil, and then the comfrey plant grows and it smothers out the grasses by a leaf, covering the grass so it can't get light. And what you do is you stop the annual from growing faster than the perennial until the perennial can take over. That's where glyphosate could be used correctly. Organic farming does not allow that, even because their excuse is a rat might eat the glyphosate and have it in its gut at the time a predator then caught the rat, and it would kill the predator.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only argument in organic chemistry that stopped the use of Roundup as a tool, and then Monsanto had to take it to the next level where they put it in the gene where it never goes away. And then that in itself, that's wrong. And then that gave the whole concept of GMOs a wrong spin, because there's nothing wrong with climatizing a product and making it a cultivar. That's what a GMO is.
So that's what you're saying about it being right, but that's what you're saying about the glyphosate being in the gene. You're not saying when you spray the plant it gets into the genes. You're saying that there's a difference between spraying glyphosate.
In which case that spray is broken down within 10 days, or you put it in the gene, which means it's being reproduced every day.
Holy crap! Holy crap! That's a huge piece of information that nobody has even said about glyphosate that I've heard of.
On what makes the difference of a good GMO and a bad GMO? You don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it really shows that you could harm some animals.
And misinformation.
Wow, but 10 days.
And I'm a physicist, and I'm trying to tell you where you can use it and where you can't. And organic farming says you can't use it because it might kill a predator.
Well, it's just now, organic farming is saying that glyphosate stays in the soil for up to 20 years, but it's because of the genetic modification with the glyphosate, not because of the spray. Holy crap. That's like a huge deal. That's a huge piece of information missing from that truth.
That's the idea of lobbying and, lying by omission.
Wow.
That's counterintelligence. Everybody does that to have their argument swing one way over another in what we call debate.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the benefit.
Everything has two edges. Is the house white or brown? And the correct answer is yes.
Yes.
Is it good or bad? Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's
That's
where you
wonderful.
learn how to do it and why I don't do organic farming. I do sustainable. That's the
Right.
difference between
Yes.
organic and sustainable.
Yes. Well, that's why we're not called North American Organic Farms. We're called North American Sustainable Farms.
Well, then there you go. That's the distinction. And
Yes.
you do that with land, sea, air, and water. Land,
Oh.
sea, air, fire, and water. Yeah, the four elements. Oh, wait, there's a fifth element, the one that connects them all. Spirit. Just kidding.
Well, I
The
uh,
law of
I think that we've definitely gotten into a lot of information here, and I definitely want to go into talking a little bit before we go, because we've pretty much covered everything, and we've even talked about medicinal benefits of mushrooms. But I really wanted to focus on some of this new information that's coming out about psychedelic mushrooms, as well as, and I'm calling them psychedelic just because that's a common term, but the
well, you
medicinal
get high on.
psychotropic
Yeah.
mushrooms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the
Okay.
benefits of
Okay.
like
So,
microdosing, that's a huge thing now, and I think a lot of people would be very interested to know your opinion when it comes to microdosing, like psilocybin based mushrooms.
sure. Well, I wrote Magical Mushroom Handbook, and before I wrote that one, I wrote the magical and ritual use of herbs. And there are 28 herbs that grow native out in
Okay.
in our garden, whatever. And
Right.
each one has chemistry in it, like sweet flag is B-arcerone. And boy, can you get off on that. How about
Hmm.
Hawaiian baby woodrose seeds or morning glory seeds that have lysergic acid amide in it?
Hmm.
Now, okay, what these are neurotransmitter lookalikes. They're like when you take lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD, we'll get to psilocybin in a minute.
Okay.
When you take that, the body goes, oh my God, and freaks out because this is a massive toxin coming into your body. And what the
Hmm.
brain does is immediately tries to overshadow that by producing its own neurotransmitter lookalike, which is lysergic acid amide. And what happens
Interesting.
next is the LSD itself is broken down, just like Monsanto, like Roundup, it is broken down and in the urine within about 20 minutes of ingestion. And then the next 20 hours of hallucinations are from your own brain chemistry.
Okay.
And
Now,
what you
now
have
I have a quick
essentially done,
question. I have a quick question, because I actually started listening to your work because of this statement right here that you're making. And I got really into plant shamanism and the
well,
different
yes,
cultures and
Mr.
studying that.
Millennium, you're really smart, but you're not practical. And we're going to try to give you some practical information so you can be smart and integrate
Okay.
it. And once you can integrate it, then it's no longer my teaching, it's your
Yes.
study of mine,
Right.
integrating it into your own thing, making it more than mine.
Well, and
Now,
I
with
wanted
that
to ask
said,
this question in the concept of study. I have a specific question I wanted to ask you about
sure.
LSD and LSA. So with LSA, I found that with the morning glory and the bindweed, which is a form of morning glory out here in
Well,
America.
Bindweed is flying saucers.
Yeah, so, but in the leaves, I did the research on the actual chemical compositions of the plant, and I found out that LSA is the active compound in morning glory. And
Yeah,
so,
and they're different than baby Hawaiian woodrose seed. I remember when I first started selling that legally in Seattle, and there would be lines going down the street, maybe 2 blocks. I couldn't believe
that's
it.
funny.
Going,
But
wow,
my question,
that's how I got started marketing
wow,
these 28 herbs like
wow,
kola nut
okay.
and guarana for caffeine.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, these are Timothy Leary's neurologic circuits, as discussed deeply in workbook 1 of the Power Tools for the 21st Century. There are 2 workbooks. There will be a third coming out on water shortly. But
Okay.
the first one has the 8, has Timothy Leary's neurologic circuits. And there are 8 of those brain chemistry. By the way, acid, lysergic acid amide, is the neurotransmitter that is released when you go, aha, and connect one dot with another. When you connect one dot with another, that is the release of lysergic acid amide A.
But with that, like, okay, so that's a natural neurotransmitter. So what I found though in this study,
it jump started your brain by taking this toxin.
Okay.
Taking mushrooms. Okay.
Right.
Well,
so in theory, in hypothesis,
production of these things, so that you now no longer need toxins to get yourself off. You can do it with your own mind's eye. That's what I'm writing about right now. How to do that as the non-local mind in a holographic universe, and how to change the movie. I'm doing now is writing about how you identify the chill that goes up and down your spine. That is dimethyltryptamine.
Yeah, I could go on a whole conversation about that. But I guess what I like at the core of like what I was trying to ask with exactly what you said about LSA and it being a part of your brain, would it be smarter for individuals, and this is what I was going towards with the study, is the study was showing that morning glory leaves have LSA in them from the production of photosynthesis. So if that's the case, wouldn't it be smarter to use the leaves as like an LSA?
No, because they also have toxins in them. Remember, we're talking about the spectrum of chemistry. There's a whole bunch of chemistry in there, not just LSA.
So morning glory leaves have. So morning glory leaves have toxins?
Philosophy did, then that's different. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that when you eat a native plant, that is no way, if you assign a ritual to that, and that's why I wrote the book, The Magical and Ritual Use of Herbs.
Right.
Now you have a sacrament, and it is illegal to keep that in the Uniform Controlled Substance Act. And so what the FDA then did was made an advisory recommending it, and 2 states, it's illegal. That's it. New York and New Jersey. All other states, it is now legal to have psilocybin mushroom on your possession and or growing it. If you sell it, it's against the law. If you extract the chemistry so that you have targeted chemistry like psilocin or psilocybin, okay, those are illegal. But to have the native plant, as long as you're following a church protocol for using it as a sacrament, like they do with ayahuasca, it is not illegal. Now let's go to what happens next. Well, so there is this new drug called ibogaine.
Yes.
It's from the iboga vine out of Africa. And it appears, they took a 16-year IV user off of Amsterdam Park, and in a 30-hour clinical intake, showed how this individual did not go through withdrawals off of heroin. After 30 hours of nightmares and the worst experiences of his life, thinking he's going to die, this is called Bouidi of the Fang, and it's an initiation in Africa, going from being a child to a man. They say that Bouidi shows up only twice in your life, and that's in the transition of going from a child to becoming a man, and becoming a man and death.
Wow.
In other words, you only want to do it once.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough of that. Okay. So, what happened was, it stops all forms of addiction with one single use. And that includes spousal abuse and gambling, which are not site-selective molecules. How does it work? Well, nobody knows. The French have made a proposal that I think is correct. It has to do with your directional alpha, what is called PGO waves in the occipital region. They're called PGO waves in the occipital region of the cerebral cortex, which can be metaphorically likened to your boot up of auto-exec-bat and config sys files. When you get up every morning, the first thing you do is you get out of bed a certain way, You go to the toilet a certain way, and those constitute rituals which determine your addictions. And simply changing how you get out of bed, how you pee, how you brush your teeth, like when you little rituals, like when you flush the toilet, but before the toilet clears, you have to have toothpaste on your toothbrush to brush your teeth, little games that you play.
Yeah.
That is what determines addictive behavior and how to change it. And what ibogaine does is it rewrites those little rituals. I remember the guy they were showing lots of. This guy lit up while he's talking outtake on how he's never going to do heroin again, did not go through withdrawal, starts to light up a cigarette, looks at the cigarette, puts it out. He doesn't smoke anymore either. Now, with that said, it was illegal. And I'm used by FDA Portland. Portland, Oregon is where they do all the drug studies for USDA out of Washington, D.C. They contacted me, and I recommended that they, do this plan for study. And they chose to disagree with me. And they made it illegal. I got pissed off. And so what I did is I have a friend down in Homestead, Florida, that put 2 acres in a gardening situation as a horticultural plant. And then the hurricane hit, and it climatized throughout Florida because of that. That little ibogaine grows everywhere in Florida now. And as a result of that, this is me doing that to the USDA. Well, what happened next is they had to study it. And you will now find there are 11 universities that are now studying the use of ibogaine and the reduction of habits or addictions. And if any of you want to have further information, I have a technical paper I've written that I will upload to you on that. And then what you need to do is get yourself in one of the programs in New York, in Florida, wherever, Bethesda. They're doing it at all, Loma Linda. They're doing these studies because it absolutely works, and we don't know how it works because it has nothing to do with receptor sites like opiates do. Just like we're finding hemp has better qualities in blocking pain, because there are different ways to do it. Whether you're using neoproxen or aspirin or Tylenol, which is Tylenol is mostly an opiate, one molecule different, to do codeine rather than morphine. Morphine, codeine, red scarlet poppy, and for Malanclot and some of the big buyers in hospitals that do that. Now they had to study it because of my original work in the magical and ritual use of herbs. And then, now that it's being studied, there are accesses to this drug. Now, I'm going to also hook a caveat on the little caveat. You must not try to do this on your own. You might think you're going to do yourself, well, it needs to be done in a clinical situation where you have a host of nurses.
And you're talking, I just want to clarify, you're talking about ibogaine specifically right now.
I'm saying you must, like all shortcuts to jump-starting your brain, the way the saints did it in history, training the brain, is from meditation. Some of you, like me, want to go take a shortcut through the woods to Grandma's house. Such as you do take shortcuts, like taking drugs, to jumpstart your own production, there are big bad wolves out there that you have to protect yourself from. And
is that what that story means? Is that what that story means?
That's what that story means.
Shortcut through the woods.
You have big bad wolves, and you have to protect yourself from those. And so it only takes certain kinds of minds that can pull that up. That's what distinguishes the shaman from the tribe.
Yeah. I don't mean to laugh. Oh, I'm still settling in about the whole little girl through the woods.
Yeah, it takes 30 years in meditation, and I can get there using brain drivers in 4. But like all shortcuts, there are big bad wolves to use brain drivers. And that's in my Power Tools book where I run it down. Here's the shortcut. Here's the concern.
Mm-hmm.
I train sales using shortcuts, like how to learn how to continuously breathe so that you could take your martial art to a new level. Now, when you do that, it has risks because the edge of one place to the other is so fine as to be you're out of it or you are a super soldier. And that's training the mind. Right. And there are many ways to do that. All roads lead to Rome, and all of you are little brat kids needing training.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you blow yourself up. I was making pipe bombs when I was 12 years old. If you don't think the military loved me, man, but say, what I did is I called those rocket ships. Yeah. And the last one that I built, before I stopped that nonsense, I found 2 blocks over in someone's garage, went through the roof, made a hole in it, and I deftly went into the garage, grabbed the missing piece of evidence, convicting evidence, and quickly oh, no, that was when I was 12 years old.
Yeah,
Craft chemistry said I was your little nightmare. And it's alive! Yeah. It's alive!
No, and I gotta say, I gotta say,
be careful about that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I got in trouble. Yeah, I got in trouble.
Well, I gotta say though, honestly, Dr. Miller, I really am. The whole reason I'm doing this is because of the severity of the situation we are in. We have so many beautiful things happening, but at the same time, we are at a very dire situation when it comes to our responsibility and taking responsibility for our own action as individuals, and that starts with the mind and the body. You know, and I like to say the heart as how we treat others, you know, how we feel about the world, and not so much projecting that constant negativity.
And his so-called Essene Gospels. And what they were principles he studied in India before he became, when he was still Emmanuel, and then became the king of Jerusalem. And to be king of Jerusalem by canon law, since Abraham required him to have a lineage. And that led to the bloodlines of Christ and the Moravian and Habsburgs and all the rest of it in Europe, which was later called the Cathars. And the Cathars, with Mary and her 2 children, when they fled to the south of France, that's what the Templars were all about, is to make that discovery. And that's when the Knights of the Temple, which, by the way, my title in lodge is Prince of Jerusalem. I am a Knight of the Temple. And I can possibly be the epistemists, but I choose not. What I am is not Caliph. I don't want to be a teacher anymore. What I am is leaving footprints for the next round of lead scouts that take up my work as a study, not learn, study, make it their own, and move it to the next level, which I'm unable because of my age and grasp and capabilities. I am a lead scout for mankind, and I love millennium. I need to give them essential practical that they can integrate with their intelligence and take my work to a new level, just like I'm doing Rudolf Steiner. And Rudolf Steiner, my great-grandfather, was his lodge master. That's why I wear this eye in the triangle. That is, I belong to Swiss Lodge, call out of Zurich, and I mentor for Waldorf. And my great-grandfather's, legacy. And I'm trying to do this the best way I can with the knowledge base I have, because in the Greater Keys of Solomon, originally written as one book, The Greater and Lesser Keys of Solomon, they broke it into 2 books, one for angels and one for demons, but they were all one at one time. Okay, that was called the clavicle. And in there, the second sentence says, quote, ownership is enhanced when shared with another. It's not about having something. It's about sharing it.
Oh, well, I gotta say, we must be talking about something dangerous, because all my stuff just freaked out. We're still live as far as I can tell, but literally, like, half of my windows just said I wasn't on the internet, but I'm on the internet. I don't understand how that even works. So, how you
Yeah,
doing
fair
out there,
enough.
whoever's doing something weird?
I don't know.
It's
I will
fun,
say
but
this about they. They is most likely not even human. And what
well, but I mean,
makes us
don't you have to
human is
agree?
yeah,
Don't you have to agree with me though that in the sense of whatever they could be, the matter is we are here doing what we're doing, and as long as we keep doing, then none of what they matters, right?
how did Tano put it to Lone Ranger? Oh yeah. What do you mean we, white man?
Okay, well, fine,
I gotta
fine.
love Connie
You
Jump,
know,
man.
fine.
Oh,
I was
oh,
trying to be all positive. It's okay. It's okay. I'm just trying to give a middle finger to, whatever's
yeah, I
happening.
understand. But it's not a middle finger anymore. It's
Yeah.
dancing wolves and the woman who stands with a fist.
Right.
It's all about attitude.
Yes. Yes, and that's all I was trying to say is that, as long as we maintain our attitude, we can maintain,
How
who
did
we are in the journey.
put it in Miami Vice? Oh yeah. Surf's up, dude.
Well, on that note, I'm super excited for this interview. This has been just a blast, and I think we did a great interview. I mean, we've done great interviews already. I've gotten great feedback. We've had some questions, and I do want to close out with one question, and then we can go ahead and wrap up for this interview. And that is along all these lines of the going into the chemistry and the psychology of these new not new plants, but old plants becoming new medicine. We had a question for you about the 5-gram heroic dose. And then going into that, when you take a 5-gram heroic dose and that consciousness that you go into and you can start to communicate with plants and animals, the question is, what do you think is happening when that happens? What do you, or what scientifically do you know?
Lose ego. What happens is ego is placed into the context of the whole of who you are. And ego is, you don't want to lose ego, but cosmic consciousness is when you are me, and I am you, and I am the walrus. That's the 4th level of the hologram, where you are experiencing it on a cosmic level beyond causal. You've got physical, emotional, intellectual, archetypal. 4th stage. By the way, there are 8 stages. And that's neurologic circuits of Timothy Leary. And the last one is Special K, ketamine. And what they're doing in raves now, where they come up to you, are you feeling good? And they go squirt in your face. With Special K, that is, in my opinion, a violation of natural law, and you have the right to kill that person. As Exhibit A, Lieber Oz. And I'm telling you, when you do these things, you are performing an act of magic. And if you do not have control of your environment, what Leary called set and setting, you are at risk with your immortal soul. It's that level of big bad wolf. It'll change you.
Yes.
It changed me. You want to have control of that. That means someone doesn't do it for you. Ha 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 ha. Sucker. No. It means you're doing it in a ritual form where there is a celebration of the myth involved, so that you have a handler, somebody that's watching out for you while you're doing this. That's what Leary did with my first LSD trip. He didn't take it. And I remember when we were up at Deception Pass, and I'm hallucinating, like I'm looking 2,000 feet down into Puget Sound, and the colors were boiling back colors. Leary leaned over and he said, "Wouldn't it be neat to jump?" Now, what do you think would happen if I had done that? And that's the place where I discovered Aldous Huxley and his doors of perception. He shut, bang, bang, bang. Oh, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to think that. I watched that process going on inside me. That's when, that very moment, it changed.
Wow.
Everything I have ever done since that moment has been about the study of altered states of consciousness and what they are and what they are not, and how to use them as tools in a toolbox. There are many ways to jumpstart your brain. You don't have to do it with drugs.
Right.
That's one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily the best way. Every one of us is different, and we need to take that into due consideration. Why? Walt Disney ever did magic with the so-called sorcerer's apprentice, he still knew to draw a circle of protection around it. For that, I recommend you all read Dion Fortune, Psychic Self-Defense, from the Golden Dawn period. She wrote that in, I think, 1904, something like that. Psychic Self-Defense. She wrote a bunch of other books. That's the one you want to read. Psychic Self-Defense. It's available online free. You need, all of you. If you're going to experiment with drugs, absolutely, from my point of view, you need to have that integrated into your arsenal.
Okay, well, that was awesome. I really appreciate it. And thank you again. It's just always a blast to have you on.
Yeah.
And remember, everybody, we're going to be doing this live. We're going to be working on a weekly schedule. I'll have that posted, as well as we'll have the podcast audio form coming out soon, and just tons of stuff. It's going to be super exciting. We have Dr. Miller's got all his stuff going on. We'll put the links in the description. And then we've also got our stuff with the farm going on. And then we actually are working on some stuff together. So we will see what we have for you next week.
By the way, the first videos for armoring yourself for what is about to happen. And there'll be more videos going up on different things, including water, food, that kind of thing, of which this, what you and I are doing right now, is a small series in agriculture, part of the gardening. And those two first links I gave to you, those are useful to anyone. Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I just want to give a thanks again to everybody who checked out the show. We had some people coming in live. We didn't have anybody chat today, but that's still, we're just live on our YouTube channel for the first time. So we will be doing live on the YouTube channel now, from now on, with Twitch. And we're going to be doing live the morning after that we post the interview from the week before, the edited form. So you will be able to watch the live form still, but we're going to have the edited form the week before, as well as the audio going out the week before. And that way we can kind of promote the next morning's live stream and get you guys to kind of get used to this new schedule going on.
Yeah, I'd like to respond more to questions than pre-arranged script. Bet because my knowledge base is so... I remember everything I read.
Yeah, I know, and it can get difficult.
I remember everything I read.
And you
Eidetic memory, yeah.
You do a great job, and I've already gotten feedback, and I'm going to include the links on our descriptions. I'm going to go back, and actually for the next couple of days, I'm going to be working mainly on production stuff. But because honestly, we already got feedback saying the same thing you said about just how much information and being able to study it. I had people saying they're stopping 20 minutes in just because they've got a list of things that they're now researching, just so they can continue this.
There's a lot more where that
yeah,
came from, man.
Yeah, so
that's easy. Listen, man, you have no idea, because for 11 years, back in the 90s, I taught metaphysics as a graduate course at Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
I started AOL under Mark Hume when we went from PC Link, and I started the chat room concept of texting, and I started the download libraries, of which my website now has a massive download library of free PDFs in ancient texts, ones I used when I read and taught these courses in metaphysics, because I don't want you to use my conclusions. I want you to go back and see what I drew from and see what your own conclusions are and take it to the next level.
Right. That's amazing. Well, thank you again. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to close out the stream here. And make sure, again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We will have merch links in the description for our farm clothing line on saltofearth.life. And remember, check out NASF.life to see all the campaigns we have going on. And we will have a little description area in the bottom with Dr. Miller's links so you can support him and check out everything he's got going on. So y'all remember, it all begins with you, and have a beautiful day.